extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. It's been a strange and trying week, but it's been a weird week and one of accomplishments, at least in as far as gaming goes, and some cool coincidences. For example, on May 1st, Workers' Day, International Workers' Day, but also in the gaming sphere, Traveler Day, I was able to run a Traveler game. On May 4th, there's a strange synergy of sorts, and I will probably have to record something, or maybe I'll put something out. I'm planning on working on something to get put out that day, maybe. But I also owe you guys a long, not long as in a bad way, but very cool callback show, where I have a lot of people calling back for various reasons, various things. So that's coming up too, or in the works. But May the 4th, Star Wars Day, may the 4th be with you. We are actually playing Star Wars. It's our scheduled day to play Star Wars. And it's also the birthday of one of the players. So we're having a birthday party, gaming session, and playing Star Wars, which is cool. So last week, I made a call on Joe Richter's Hindsightless podcast. Last week, we decided to, euthanize our old 16-year-old Rottweiler. She really had an accident about 4 weeks ago, and she, despite talking to the vet and taking her to the vet and seeing how it was probably like a sprain or a slip disc, not much they can do for an older animal, but see if she gets up. She didn't want to get up anymore, and I think she, as a Rottweiler, very fearsome dog, never really showing timidity. It was odd to see her scared during a thunderstorm, which had never happened before. And then it looked like also the vet said there's first signs of some sort of blood cancer going on. So yeah, 16-year-olds is a long time, great run for a Rottweiler. I think we've done pretty well with animals. Our previous Rottie German Shepherd mix, Charlie, passed away at 17, which is phenomenal for a larger dog. So this is great that Pearl had a good run, Charlie had a good run, and now they're both running, which they couldn't do or didn't want to towards the end with the great pack in the sky. So pretty cool. But so I had to cancel, or I canceled my games. I wasn't feeling up for it Monday and Tuesday, and those were my Traveler and Twilight 2000 games. But coolly, we made them up this past week on May 1st and May 2nd, playing Traveler and Twilight 2000 respectively. So, yeah, gonna get into some of the games that I played, and these include finishing Power Behind the Throne, part of the Enemy Within campaign for Warhammer Fantasy, so finishing book 3 out of 5, which is very exciting. Got to run some Call of Cthulhu on Friday night with Amy and a friend of ours, so we have this ongoing continuation of Amy's character Kay Cocaine that takes place in Arkham in the 1920s, which is a neat thing, a neat kind of little campaign that we've come together. And then Sunday, we played Savage Rips, and we asked the question, what happens when your big bad dies quickly? So, which can happen in Savage Worlds, apparently, which, you got to be cool with as a GM, honestly. And then I'll try to get into, if I feel like I haven't been too long-winded in the other games, because I feel I'm already rambling on in this intro. We'll talk about Traveler and Twilight 2000, which were pretty good sessions, good makeup sessions, and we get to play back-to-back. So, and this weekend is ChupacabraCon, and I'm running 2 games at ChupacabraCon. I'm running a game of Joe Salvador's Reaver, which I'm pretty excited about. I have a great idea. I think I still need to. Joe Salvador has provided me with some handouts that are not in the quick start. I'm going to be running sort of something inspired by the quick start, but kind of a series of, well, at least an opening scene, and then we'll see which direction the players go, and I have options for wherever player agency takes them, which would be kind of cool using the adventure in the back of the Quick Start Reaver book. So and Joe wants me to document things so I could play test in a way and see how things work out, what people think. Amy's playing in that game. She's also playing in my other game, which is called The Night Mother's Moon, which is a Call of Cthulhu modern scenario where the players are all homeless people trying to investigate the death of one of their own, which is more adult in theme, definitely. We'll see how people take it. It wasn't so bad as far as other Stygian Fox products go. It's a Stygian Fox product, and these have a lot of body horror, sometimes adult themes, but it wasn't as I guess raunchy as many as Stygian Fox can be. So I'm excited to run that, and I'm playing in several games, some Savage Worlds, and some Savage World Star Wars, Savage Worlds. It's not called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like their version of G.I. Joe, the Savage World version of G.I. Joe with the serial numbers filed off. I'm also playing in another Cthulhu game, Cthulhu Invictus. It's always good to see how other people interpret and run Cthulhu. And then we're playing in a pirate board game. And I think I'm with Amy in every single game, which is a departure from what last year, where we played very different games and stuff. But I guess it is what it is. So I think the new format, there's only 3 slots per day, so it's a very limited number of things that are happening. And it's a small convention in a new location, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, a little pause here. Thanks for tuning in to hear what the geomologist has to say. And I've been told that this is kind of the coolest segment, or the most popular segment. Not quite the case when I look at the number of views, but I get a lot of good feedback on recaps, so that's what we're going to do. And I'll be right back. Thanks for listening. Remember when I said that the penultimate session of my Warhammer fantasy game was the best session ever? Well, this one totally topped it. When we last left the heroes, the bad guy, an evil sorcerer, the instigator of all this conspiracy and plots in Middenheim, was barreling down the cobblestone streets towards the gate to try to get away. His battle wagon driven by maddened horses, and in pursuit were Marostra, who had changed into a hippogriff using his Order of Beast spell, and the brave one-armed Ulrich, who had leaped heroically onto the battle wagon and was pulling himself up with one arm and his legs to the top to try to confront the sorcerer. In pursuit was Sebastian, who had gotten a horse, and still in the house were Reginald and Imric, who were finishing up some henchmen. So when we get to the action, really a lot of people said we don't know what the hippogriff is, who it is. Marostra hadn't given him a heads up. So, and then Imric even rolled, and he couldn't quite piece it together, even though he's a spellcaster, because they never really prepped for this, and they've never seen Marostra cast a spell. His character had said, "Oh, I can do this and that and the other," but in character and as his character, he'd never done it, so they didn't really believe him. I guess they're kind of cheeky like that. And anyway, so they didn't know what was going on. So Reginald takes off after them, finds a horse. He jumps onto the destrier that Marostra brought, but didn't know. I guess they felt like Marostra had fled in character. Who knows what happened? Maybe he was killed upstairs or somewhere else or in the garden. They didn't know. So in any case, and then Ulrich, I kind of let him. He kind of made his way and crawled onto the back of the wagon, while the sorcerer shot a coruscating bolt at Marostra and damaged him. Marostra tried to swoop down, and actually, this sorcerer is really well built. He had a really great dodge and great spellcasting ability. His main things. He didn't really need to fight. He needed to cast spells and dodge from the martial-minded players, and he dodged Marostra as he came down as a hippogriff. So he was winning. So and the other guys were in pursuit. And Sebastian was trying to catch up to the battle wagon, with Imric seeing this big hulking henchman, said, "No, I think I'm going to jump onto the back of the destrier with Reginald and try to pursue the evil sorcerer." So they kind of leave the house, and actually then I think the other henchmen cut their losses and disappear into the streets of Middenheim, or maybe even leave Middenheim. Who knows? There'll probably be a follow-up on that in another session. So anyway, so they're barreling across. They're hit the bridge. The sorcerer casts another spell, which is kind of like a burst spell. It maddens the crazed horses even more as it burns some of them, and the spell is like a explosion centered on the spellcaster and damages Ulrich and Marostra and sets them afire with this purplish blue flame. So they're in trouble. The sorcerer's doing really well. While Marostra kind of takes the brunt of the damage, Ulrich spends time trying to put it out. He finally, though, gets, Sebastian gets close enough, Reginald gets close enough to, Ulrich gets close into hand combat to try to grapple the guy. Ulrich notices he has this rod in his hand with a purple hand on it. Sebastian takes a shot, hits him with a crossbow bolt. Reginald shoots him with a pistol shot. Imric, shoots a bolt of lightning at him, and it damages him and Ulrich and the horses, which are still going. And he finally goes to the bridge, and then it gets really crazy. So the evil sorcerer tries to escape the grapple and grasp of Ulrich, fails spectacularly and falls from the horse, crashes to the ground, and then with his action smashes the rod onto the bridge, the viaduct they call them, separating the city of Middenheim across this gorge to the rest of the countryside. And the bridge starts collapsing from the center, so you can imagine it's like 10 meters going outwards, right, from the center. I think it was 10 yards they used, actually, 10 yards going outward from the center. Marostra sees this happening, and he smashes through the bridge with the sorcerer, and they go tumbling. Remember, Marostra is a hippogriff, and he's flying. They go tumbling into the mist-filled abyss. And then Ulrich, all he can try to do is try to grab hold of the coach, the battle wagon, as it kind of veers off and starts careening, falling off the bridge itself. Sebastian, who was right there, he tries to control his horse, but now he finds himself backing into this hole. And then it was kind of cool. I didn't know what the players would do. I know it's always a big thing to try to capture the bad guy, make sure the villain doesn't escape. And maybe this was what changed the outcome here. And Marostra sees what's going on, because the battle wagon, even though he's in like the mist, the battle wagon's on fire. So he sees it kind of going off the edge, sees Ulrich there trying to gain control and unsuccessful. So Marostra stops his pursuit temporarily. I mean, he can move like 120 feet or yards per round. It's ridiculous how fast this thing can fly. As you tumble down, falling at 9.8 meters, 10 yards per second or so. So anyway, so he take about 4 rounds probably to fall to the bottom of this gorge. Just keep that in mind. But then Marostra, he flies, rescues Ulrich, deposits him on the bridge, and then dives back into the mist. And then Reginald and Imric are like, well, what can we do? We're seeing the friend Sebastian in trouble. I guess his horse rears up because he doesn't want to crash into the battle wagon, but then they're going to fall into the gorge. So Reginald says, okay, I'm going to spur the destrier and try to leap over. And I gave him like how many successes he needed to get. And he's like, okay, it's a risk. We either rescue Sebastian or we all fall together. I guess that was the philosophy. And Emmerich says, okay, if you do that, then I will try to grab Sebastian from the horse, at least rescue Sebastian. And it was successful. It was pretty amazing. He jumped over the gap, spurring the horse. Emmerich grabbed Sebastian. Then Sebastian, he had like a rope out because he saw that he was falling, got a rope out, maybe lasso this coach or lasso some pylon. But instead he lassos the horse. We give the horse one last push, and he's able to pull and give the horse some momentum so it can kick up and not fall into the gorge. And they spur their horses away from the expanding hole. Marastra is diving after the sorcerer who has grown wings and is flying in the gorge. He tries to fight him. He damages him. He misses him. And then Marastra realizes he only has a limited amount of time before he will become just a normal elf again, no longer a hippogriff, and fall down into the gorge. So he just flies down towards the water at the river at the bottom of the gorge, and the bad guy gets away. And I said, well, was I too nice? I asked my players, do you think I was too nice last night? Was it fair, exciting? I told them I loved how your priorities were to save each other. And then I could think they were rewarded later because then they stomped the competition in Snotball, the South Enders in their Snotball game, like 10-1, beating the previous record of 7-1 and winning the whole Middenheim tournament, which I'll get to in a second. And then, but one of my players said, I didn't think you were too nice. I think you let good ideas have a chance of succeeding, and we made the tough rolls to pull off what we described. We'd rather than you just say no chance to do that. Too nice would have been if you let us still finish off the bad guy that got away, but you let the dice rolls dictate that as well. We failed to get the roll, so we got away. And then the other player said, I agree. I think you let us roll and do what we said we could do. And too nice would have been catching the big bad. And then one guy said, well, because this character and that character didn't die, I don't know, the bad guy still got away. It was tough. And then one player, one of the ones who would have died, said, I thought it was fair and everything went well for our great Warhammer session. And then the last player said, yeah, I thought it was fair. I had fun. So, I think, and then one player did cheekily say, well, I think we need to retro and I'm good with dying. I want to make a halfling Slayer Badger Knight Rider and a halfling foil breaker, or there's like a dwarven class that's like Iron Breaker, so foil breaker, aluminum breaker maybe. So there you go. That was Warhammer Fantasy. It was a really good session, and I hope to have many more as we continue the Enemy Within. Oh, back to Snotball. So they won. They won 7 to. They picked like something like the Woodville or Woodland Rangers as to join that team. They're kind of ringers in the team. They won pretty handily along the way in this sort of Blood Bowl, Snotball tournament. And now they're like the champions of Middenheim. So then I'm like, I guess it's going to be like now a side quest to have them, and maybe this can be like a front for them to kind of participate with the team in the Empire tournament, probably held in the capital city of Altdorf. I have to see where the next adventure goes, and maybe it'll take him back to Altdorf, which would be kind of cool. It'll suit Ulrich fine because that's where his boat is there and being repaired, or he's getting a new boat or something like that. But if they get back to Altdorf and then the Reich, he can get his boat back. So it was very cool, very awesome session. That's how we kind of ended it. There was a good sort of debriefing with the Graf and the head of the City Watch. And the characters are now like a big deal in Middenheim, and they might just stay there a while. So we have a pause in the campaign. And then we went out to next door. There's a bar next door to the gaming store we play at, and we had a beer to celebrate. So very cool, good friends, good times, a fantastic game. I'm really enjoying Warhammer Fantasy. So what can I say about Call of Cthulhu? It's a very exciting game, and like Amy has said, it's more fun to play with another person. While we enjoy the solo game, it's great to have another perspective, and they really enjoyed the role playing. They're pursuing this revenant or some sort of I don't know, bag of bones killer who they've read is threatening or was is the remains of the spirit. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Um, the twisted remains of an old schoolmaster who liked to punish children. It is the adventure is actually it's a bit of a spoiler. It's in the More Adventures in Arkham County by Miskatonic Press, and it's called Spare the Rod. The characters found some great clues that led them to discover, how to potentially bind the spirit, what the spirit is, a kind of like a voodoo doll of the spirit, and who's controlling it. And this led them to a strange house that was defying the decays of time south of Arkham, in between Arkham and Boston. And this is the notorious house of Goody Fowler. And what's cool is I've added elements and material not just from this adventure, but also from Arkham Unveiled. And I think before they went to Goody Fowler's house, they visited Amy's character's mentor, an Asenath Waite, who has the Innsmouth look, which is sort of in the lore. Innsmouth is where there are a lot of deep ones and deep one hybrids that live. There's a cult of, I believe it's Dagon, and then Cthulhu that emanates out of there. So Amy's character has found someone to teach her these eldritch spells, and Amy's character has done so. She had talked to ghouls before. She went to visit Asenath, and Asenath gave him some hints and some information about, cryptic, of course, about the dead witch Goody Fowler, and told him, well, if you go there, I will help you, but you must get her a spell book from me, and you should bring it back. And it was kind of cool because so Amy's character, this person is not a nice person, at least as the other player who was there, their character felt, and but could kind of see right through the lies and the double face, double talk that the sorceress Asenath Waite was doing. But it's kind of neat to see that development and see if Amy's character is going to go full-on sorcerer. There is a benefit, but there is at the cost of your sanity. So they eventually went to Goody Fowler's house. And I was surprised. There was they explored the house, found some other clues. I'm trying not to spoil it, so you won't get but that's the way these Cthulhu adventures work in a way. It's investigative, and you get to a big, exciting conclusion. And the cliffhanger conclusion this night was that, it was late when they left, and Goody Fowler's familiar, which was a night gaunt, which is a mythos servitor creature, attacked them, and Amy's character got a shot off, and then kind of started running away. Kind of failed her sanity, went temporarily insane. Her character started running away, and of course that goes back to player agency, whatever. But yeah, I think I discussed with Amy, well, how do you want this to go? I said, well, I feel like I would rapidly take the shot, close my eyes and take the shot, and then run. So I said, okay, that's great, that's good. So that's kind of what she did, and we rolled how long that would happen. I let her take the shot, gave her penalties for it, but she still got an extreme success because Amy is good with dice rollers. So she hit this creature pretty tough, and then the creature tried to attack the other player character who's playing Professor Samuels, a biologist slash author, journalist from Boston, works at Boston University. And I was surprised. I grappled. I tried to stab it, tickle it with the Nightgaunt's tail, and it didn't work. And this character, the player, rolled really well for their sanity, held their ground, used their pistol. Fortunately, Keiko had given him a pistol earlier in the game, and Professor Samuels held his own and shot up the creature, which I think was kind of satisfying because usually it's a case of, even against servitor creatures, it's a case of running away, screaming, getting mauled and killed by something like this, even a quote unquote lowly knight gaunt. So it's a very exciting session. It's kind of, we don't really have a schedule for when we play. It just kind of depends on our schedules and if they synergize, which there, I brought that word back again. The synergies that are happening in all of my games. So that's Call of Cthulhu. And what is next? Savage Rifts. Okay, so Savage Rifts, I think it's going really well. I guess I was just surprised at how things went. So there was one last fight. The player characters had convinced the town that they're working with to join the Tomorrow Legion because that was their best bet. In the last encounter, they had found that this group is trying to show that the kind of manipulate the town and to show that they need protection from this political group called the Federation of Magic by really capturing their citizens and saying it was these other people that did it, which was not the case. The players found out they had captured a robot vehicle. They had destroyed some broodkill, which are like demons, or they call them demons, or from another plane. They're entities from another plane that look demonic. Fire is a thing, and they also put cybernetics. They're called broodkill, and they even killed a broodkill leader. So they and one escaped, but they found out what was going on. They went. They rescued the. They had a coalition representative with them, a Lieutenant Behan, who was trying to get the town, Garnet Town, to join the coalition, which is another political group that very warlike and anti-DB, which is a dimensional being. So you have to be human or we don't care about you. So little racist there, somewhat fascist. So, but this guy fought alongside him. He got really injured. They couldn't heal him on site, so they had to take him back to the town where he's being patched up. And Lady Serena kind of talked to him and said, "Hey, maybe you see, we're not so much different than you. We like the same things that you do, or we, except for your sort of racism, which we don't like. We're all about helping these people and the greater good. So maybe they're getting him to leave the they're trying to get him to leave the coalition and join Tomorrow Legion. That's their goal. We didn't get to that because he's kind of unconscious most of the time. He's kind of out of it. So they have the celebration. They're going to join the Tomorrow Legion. Then the players hear or feel and hear that the rift has opened, where there's this conjunction of ley lines. I think it's called the Nexus Point, but it's also a synergy of ley lines. Anyway, so they go towards that location. They buff as they go, or they buff right when they get there, and they see this. The Federation representative has summoned a demon, a large demon, and to wreak havoc upon the town. If we can't have you and you won't join us, well, we're going to destroy you. So the players call to action. Lady Serena, the Cyber Knight, which is played by Amy, buffs the characters, as does the other, I think, Ariel Fire Dancer, who's played by Darren Green, armors up the characters with like fire armor, with mega damage fire armor, and Amy's character buffs all the characters with, to have them give them the ability to smite and do damage to like a demonic force, do extra damage. And they both cast them, use the greater edition, so it gives them like mega damage. And guess what? Amy rolled raise on both her smite and her boost ability, so she boosts herself in strength up to like D12 plus, and everyone in the group, all the weapons, their main weapon in the group, they all have smite. It only lasts for like 5 rounds, but they're going to get it to it. There's a sniper broodkill up as they approach, and that broodkill actually won initiative and shot at Lady Serena and shook her. But she brushed it off, and then motored into battle on her motorcycle. She has a frenzy ability,
and the ability to attack, fight, attack if you still have movement. So she's able to do that. She drives to the broodkill sniper and cuts its head off. It's a minion, does like 50 points of damage or something stupid like that. And then she drives towards the demon and attacks and does 60 points of damage. And then I'm like, uh-oh, did she just kill like the big bad in one shot? So I calculated it. She did seven wounds to this creature. The creature is large, so it has 5 wounds. That's definitely incapacitated over. Even if I, soak at least 2 wounds, which I have to spend 2 bennies to do from its benny pool, and it soaks it, but it's still incapacitated. So Lady Serena has destroyed this creature, and then there's the sorcerer's like, uh-oh, but Halima gets to go before the sorcerer, and she shoots the sorcerer, with an ion cannon. Damages, I think she did 38 points of damage, kind of nearly incapacitates him. I soaked pretty well with him. Yeah, I soaked pretty well. Looks like I soaked the damage pretty well, so he only had like 1 or 2 wounds. And then he went, but he just didn't try to fight because he saw the demon he summoned destroyed. So he tried to force Lady Serena to flee. I think she made it. It looks like she made her. I'm looking back at the notes. She used her conviction to not be feared. And then this guy kind of tries to run, but Ariel gives him a taste of his own medicine and fears him, and he is like kind of shaken. I think Ariel got a raise too. They're rolling raises like nuts. Yep. So it shakes him, and he's incapacitated. And then Maima just annihilates him with a railgun or with her minigun on her vehicle, or incapacitates him. They took him prisoner. So like the big bad got taken down in one shot, and you're like, wow, okay, well, I just let it happen. That's kind of the way the numbers went out. But then you're going to tell me, but Savage Rips has that 4 wound max. So then I'm like, oh, well, maybe I did run it wrong. And then Lady Serena would have done 2 wounds to him. But then what would have happened is that Halima would have gone with the robot, and she would have done 38 points of damage, which would have dropped the demon anyway. So I think the same result would have happened. It just would have taken 2 people to do it instead of 1. But it was definitely more dramatic for Lady Serena to take down this demon lord. And they kept a sword, so now the robot has a sword. So I like Savage Rips. It's a very enjoyable game. We're going to continue to run it, actually. Hopefully we will get back to Jackals at some point. But I think they really liked Savage Rips. And I'll have to remind them that, hey, it's 4 wounds. It goes both ways. So at most, the player characters would only have to soak 4 wounds. If they don't soak, then they're dropped. If they soak, well, then that's how many wounds they have. And then large creatures, this demon was large, so it has 5 wounds instead. But still, there's a 4 wound max, and I guess that prevents like you from one-shotting like a dragon or something. But again, they would have instead of one-shotting, they would have 2-shotting. But one-shotting is more satisfying. Oh, when we did roll on there's grisly damage. So when we did roll on the hit for the demon, it was a headshot, and it kind of blinded him. So there you go. Bad day for the demon lord. So not the Phantom Lord, but the Demon Lord. Anyway, so cool game. I like it. Play is fun. Savage Worlds is a great system. And if you have any questions about how I handled it, let me know. I thought it was fun, and we just kind of rolled with it to watch Lady Serena, the Cyber Knight, which are a big fighting arm of the Tomorrow Legion. It helps garner support for them joining the Tomorrow Legion, the town at least. So we'll see where we go. I definitely have a lot of adventures I can run. We can riff off some of the events here. I'm thinking that since they have this sorcerer captive, they might escort him back to the Federation of Magic. And that'll be kind of an interesting adventure. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, that was Rips. As I mentioned, May 1st was International Workers' Day, also called May Day. In the U.S., it's celebrated as Labor Day in September, but it's internationally, May Day, May 1st is International Workers' Day. And in the gaming verse, somehow I actually don't know the origin. Maybe because of May Day, this is Free Trader, Beowulf, Signal GK. Maybe that's why, but it's May Day is also Traveler Day. So synergistically, I got to run a makeup game of our Traveler game. It worked out. Our Reaver game was canceled. Joe Salvador and others were very busy that day. Maybe they had to go, to a rally or a strike or something to do with workers. So we played Traveler, and a couple of my players were able to play. So we continued the clearing of the Kierkegaard. It's using the classic Traveler Adventure Death Station, and I've set it up so that it kind of works with the Kierkegaard lab ship that Dr. Arvedon and the group received. He subcontracted this company called Lasani Corporation to do some drug testing on animals. It's stated in the contract in there. And when they did their trip to recover Roddy's scout ship, and they've come back after a couple of misadventures, and they're like, and the representative is like, "Oh yeah, we've lost contact. I don't know what's happened. I think something bad's happened. There's reports of an explosion." So they're going up there to recover, clear their ship. I'm sure Dr. Arvedon is stewing because now he has to repair the ship again, or he's refurbishing it. They're helping to pay for it, this contract. And then they've also found not only are the animals all over the place from the explosion let out, but they were doing testing on sapient subjects, on apparently unwilling participants from this mercenary company that were that these experimental combat drugs were being tested on. And the characters found out this information last session and this session as they continued to clear the ship. This time, they had a run-in with a Liker. It's like a wolf-like creature from Solomani space that was kind of crazy, messed up. They discovered that someone had used like a laser torch to get into the crawl spaces, the fuel spaces, the crawl spaces of the lab ship, which were contiguous with baffles every 30 meters or so around the whole ship. So it's a way to get between section to section. While Dr. Arvedon went into the crawl spaces at one point, and so did Dalmar when they discovered that someone would actually burrow in. Dr. Arvedon went in there to get some of the filters from the life support to maybe figure out what the drugs did and what they were doing. They found the big lab, and they found like some of the drugs that were being experimented on, as well as this other information. And they continued their sweep. And Dalmar, when he was in the tunnels, he found the remains of a person chewed up by animals, but did not run into anyone, which was good, actually interesting. Just the way I roll randomly for these events, when these trigger events happen, or these trigger situations could trigger a random encounter, and it just didn't happen. And I think that's the fun and beauty of the way the adventure and the system itself is set up. So then they find another guy, and they realize that this is a saboteur, and he's kind of like on the down spiral of the combat drug, and he kind of talks a good talk, but he's really kind of weakened. But then when they engage him, something tries to grab him from below, and then they see it's like a Varger crew member who was there, tries to grab him, pull him down, try to injure him or bite him or claw him, but then Dalmar kind of shoots at the Varger and drives him away. They're using stun weapons, so they're trying to capture even the Liker. They captured it and bound it. They just don't want to kill these assets, and I think Dr. Arvedon wants to figure out what the hell's going on, like biologically, which would be like a long-term task. I figure not something you can just do like with the tricorder or the tricorder equivalent, which they don't have. It's like a tech level 16 biosniffer or something like that. They don't have it. Maybe when they go to Darien space. Anyway, I know I drop a lot of Traveler Easter eggs for some of you people. Some people it goes over their head, alas. So anyway, they have that encounter. They capture Slocum. They sedate him. Dr. Arvedon's trying to make sure he doesn't kill him, doesn't give him too much too much of a downer to stop his heart, but he's able to do that. And then they kind of carry him with. They run into another crewman, and this time they kind of talk her down, but there's a fight. Actually, Stephen gets injured with a laser torch, but they're able to talk her down, subdue her, get to a point where Dr. Arvon gets close enough and is able to hit her with a high flow of sedative. So she is knocked unconscious as well. So now they're like, well, I don't know how many more crewmen are, but we're almost done with the sweep. I think their idea is to do a sweep of the main part of the lab, and then Dalmar with the sigh just goes, I guess we're gonna have to crawl into the tunnels, kind of like Dallas and Alien, and we'll see what happens. Is that Varger gonna recover from being hit with the stunner? Is there someone else down there? Is there someone else actually around? So we'll find out. They still haven't totally cleared the quote-unquote upper level, the non-crawl space part. They have to go into the auxiliary bridge where they believe that's the origin, based on the video footage. That's the origin of the sabotage. So we'll see. It's pretty cool, and I hope you've enjoyed my little traveler tale. Happy May Day. Okay, the other makeup game, and it worked out, another synergy for the podcast, was a makeup of our Twilight 2000 game. We had planned this ahead of time. The Traveler thing was kind of more spontaneous. Oh, yeah, I guess I also put out a Traveler-themed podcast on May Day, which was kind of neat. I don't think I'll be able to put a Star Wars-themed podcast today as I record this, and we'll release it. It's May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you all. We are playing Star Wars, and I'll have to talk about that later. But that episode may drop next week as I recap that. I think then the next podcast, like I mentioned earlier in the intro, is going to be a call-in feedback type of podcast, probably with an addition. And maybe I'll do this feedback with Amy. We'll field these questions and comments with Amy. And we're at ChupacabraCon, and you'll get some ChupacabraCon report as well, like we've done in the past. So Twilight 2000, the crew of the Vistula Queen, well, the Krakow Free Coalition that is being transported by the Vistula Queen to Krakow to rescue refugees, continues to travel down the Vistula towards their destination, and it goes pretty well. They made it a bit of time. There was no really encounters. Anything in the water they were able to see, whether it was shoals or mud flats, as they go through the swampy part of the Vistula, and they end up getting to this one particular town, which is a priest is kind of in charge of this town, a Catholic priest, and he's trying to get this town. It's called Mount Calvary. I don't remember what it's called in Polish. I will tell you in a sec. Hold on. The town is called Gora Calvaria. Gora, I guess, being Mount. So they get there. The players envision the characters as good people trying to help restart society. So when the priest, Father Andre, tells them that they're being extorted by these marauders, well, they're going to stay and help. They learn that these marauders come from a town called Otvok, which is across the river, some 10 kilometers away, a little closer to Warsaw. And they learn the numbers of the marauder, tax collectors, extorters from Father Andre. So while the others stay back and prepare defenses, set up some IEDs, and get the vehicles in place for the marauders to come the day after tomorrow, Sergeant Grunts and Sergeant Chernov, the sniper and the Marine recon person, go to see what's going on in Otvok. So unfortunately, before they get there, they run into trouble. There's another of these swamp boats that they run into with a crew of people, and they engage them. I guess is one of the few times that Stefan failed his recon and kind of made enough noise that this kind of watch boat kind of put the spotlight on, saw him, and then called out. Fortunately, Grunts kind of melted into the shadows and took a sniping position, took down one person, forcing the most of them, the people in the boat, to kind of hunker down. Some did not, and while Chernov serpentines towards them through the woods there on the bank of the river, or stream or creek or canal, it looked like, they opened fire with a MG3, surprisingly, a German machine gun, and AKs, and Grunts takes out the spotlight and another person, and effectively they neutralize his boat and take everyone prisoner. They get some hints that Ottbach is more fortified than they think, and that the group of marauders sent for tax collecting duty to Gora Calvaria are just a small part of the overall force. They think there are maybe something like 20 plus boats, a lot of small boats, but maybe some larger boats at Ottbach. They even hear, in the distance, in the creeks and canal systems around that town, Ottbach, like people racing, like speedboats racing, and the chuff of larger boats and other stuff. So they decide, maybe since we've caused enough ruckus out here, about 2 kilometers or so from Ottbach, there's no response. Surprisingly, I guess there was some gunfire. Grunts fires a sniper rifle. So they head back with their new boat. They kind of figure out a way how to get out of the little canal they were in back to the Vistula, drive back to the Vistula, and then simultaneously they and then the people on the bridge spotting, so Ronson and Kasha and Jonesy on the bridge spot someone kind of messing up their fire discipline, and they discover a small camp of marauders who are sort of watching the town of Gora Calvaria, and Grunts and Chernov engage them while Ronson kind of tells them where to go, where they are, through the IR capabilities of the BMP. The BMP. They don't use a BMP to shoot at these guys, but quickly Chernov and Grunts neutralize this small scouting party and capture one of their UAZs. So they've collected some guns for the town, and we'll see how they do on the day after tomorrow. The marauders arrive, and what they're going to do about this large flotilla of boats, led by one of the captured prisoners that they subsequently killed, called the Admiral. So there's the Baron Jarny, the Black Baron, out of Warsaw, and then the Admiral, who must have some sort of flotilla of many, many boats. I don't know if he's necessarily intent on capturing the Vistula Queen, but the Vistula Queen would be a tempting prize. So we'll continue next week, and that is Twilight 2000, the Tales of the Free Krakow Coalition. And I think here I will be right back to give an outro. All right, thank you so much for listening to the Geomologist Presents, my Synergies and gaming during the last week and a half or so. Today is May the 4th, and I have another Synergy, like I mentioned, friend's birthday, gaming Star Wars on May the 4th. So may the 4th be with you. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, you can contact me at geomologist@gmail.com. You can send me a message or drop me an audio file there. You can also drop me an audio file on the various Discords that I hang out on as a direct message. You can send me a SpeakPipe message. I have a SpeakPipe account linked in the show notes. And you can try to drop me a message using the Spotify for Podcasters, formerly Anchor,
website. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Again, may the 4th be with you.